Have you ever shared an idea you were really excited about? Maybe a new business, a side hustle, or a fitness plan. And the moment you told people, the energy just disappeared? You start hearing things like, "That's risky. Do you really think you can do that?" Or, "Someone's already doing it." And suddenly, the fire inside you doesn't feel so strong anymore. It's not that people want to bring you down. Sometimes, they just don't see what you see. But here's the truth. When you speak too soon, you open the door for doubt, judgment, and noise. Some things grow better in silence. Dreams, ideas, new beginnings. They need time to breathe before the world touches them. Because silence isn't weakness. It's protection. It's focus. It's power. In a world that's constantly talking, the one who stays quiet, listens, and builds in the dark, that person becomes unstoppable. So if you've ever felt drained after sharing too much, maybe it's time to stop announcing and start building. Because the most powerful moves are made in silence. Chapter 1: Why Silence Protects Your Goals. Silence is not emptiness. It's energy being stored. It's focus being sharpened. It's the invisible shield that protects what's still growing inside you. You see, when we start something new, an idea, a dream, a goal, it's fragile at first. It's like a candle flame in the wind. It shines bright, but one wrong breath of doubt can blow it out. When you talk too early about what you're building, you invite that wind. You open the door for opinions, for judgment, for energy that doesn't match your vision. And without realizing it, you let that energy shape your mindset. You tell a friend, "I'm starting a business." They smile, but say, "Are you sure it's the right time?" And suddenly, you're questioning yourself. You post about your new goal online. People react. Some support, some don't. And now your motivation is tied to approval instead of purpose. Silence protects you from all of that. It keeps your energy focused on doing, not defending. It helps your dream grow roots before you expose it to the storm. There's a reason people say, "Don't tell people your plans, show them your results." It's not arrogance. It's wisdom. When you keep things private, you preserve the sacred space between intention and action. That's where real progress happens. Science even backs this up. When you announce your goals publicly, your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical it gives you after achieving something. So just by talking, you trick your mind into thinking you've already succeeded. That's why so many people stop after the first burst of excitement. But when you stay silent, you deny yourself that false reward. You keep the hunger alive. You channel it into the work, not the talk. Think about it like training in secret. You lift weights quietly, alone. Nobody's watching, nobody's clapping. Then one day, you walk into the world stronger. And people wonder how it happened. That's what silence does. It allows transformation to happen privately. So the world only sees the results, not the process. And the process, my friend, is where the magic really happens. Because silence is not just protection, it's preparation. It's where your confidence grows quietly. Where your skills sharpen without pressure. Where your goals evolve without interference. The world we live in today glorifies exposure. Everyone wants to be seen, to be known, to be validated. But true power lives in the unseen. Every great thinker, every true innovator, every legend. They all had a period of silence. A season where nobody knew what they were doing. A time when the world thought they'd disappeared. But really, they were evolving. When you learn to love that phase. When you stop rushing to be seen. You'll notice something amazing. Your focus deepens. Your confidence stops depending on attention. You start to feel a calm strength building inside you. That's the power of silence. It's not about isolation, it's about insulation. Protecting your growth from noise. Giving your dreams a safe space to mature before they face the world. So the next time you feel like sharing your plans, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, am I sharing for support, or am I sharing for validation? If it's validation, stay quiet. Let your silence do the talking. Because the moment you start to see results, those same people who questioned you will ask, how did you do it? And that's when you'll realize, you didn't just build your dream. You built your discipline. And silence was the foundation. Chapter 2, The Psychology Behind Silence. Why does silence work so powerfully? Why does keeping your goals to yourself make such a difference? It all comes down to one thing. The mind. Your mind is a storyteller. It loves to finish the story before it's written. When you say something out loud, like, I'm going to start my business. Or, I'm going to change my life. Your brain releases dopamine. It rewards you for saying it. It feels good. It feels real. But that feeling is dangerous. Because your brain thinks it's already achieved something. And once that illusion sets in, your drive starts to fade. You lose the hunger that pushes you forward. This is called social reality substitution. The idea that your mind can confuse talking about progress with actually making progress. And the more people you tell, the stronger the illusion becomes. That's why so many dreams die at the level of announcement. They were never defeated by difficulty. They were drowned by dopamine. Silence stops that. Silence starves your brain of that false reward, forcing it to seek the real one, achievement. It keeps your motivation rooted in action, not attention. But there's another layer to this. And it's even deeper. When you talk about your goals, you also invite judgment, and judgment changes your self-image. It's subtle, but powerful. The moment someone doubts you, their voice becomes a seed in your subconscious. It takes root. And one day, when you face a challenge, that voice whispers, maybe they were right. You hesitate. You delay. You stop. Silence removes that seed before it's planted. It keeps your mind pure, unpolluted by other people's opinions. And in that mental quietness, you start to hear your own intuition louder. That's why creative people crave solitude. Why athletes train alone. Why monks spend years in silence. Because in silence, your thoughts become clearer. Your priorities realign. Your confidence rebuilds itself, not from applause, but from progress. Silence is like a mirror. It reflects your truth back to you. Without distortion, without influence. But most people can't handle silence. It's too honest. Too raw. In silence, you can't escape your own thoughts. And that's exactly why it's powerful. When you sit in silence, you face your fears. You hear your doubts. You confront your excuses. And when you stop running from them, You start mastering them. Psychologists say your brain has two voices. One that speaks, and one that listens. Most people only use the first. But the real wisdom comes from the second. That voice that whispers. This is what you really want. This is what matters. This is where you belong. You can't hear that voice when you're surrounded by noise. You can't feel that direction when you're constantly talking. Silence is how you tune in. It's how you download clarity straight from your subconscious. It's how you stop being reactive and start being intentional. The more you practice it, the more you'll realize. Silence isn't empty. It's full of answers. And once you start living that way, you begin to move differently. You become grounded. You speak less, but with more weight. You plan quietly, but execute with precision. People start to feel your confidence. Not because you talk about it, but because you embody it. That's the psychology of silence. It's not about avoiding people. It's about mastering yourself. It's about replacing words with work, noise with focus, and distractions with discipline. When you truly understand this, you stop chasing attention. You start chasing improvement. And when you do that long enough, attention starts chasing you. So the next time you feel the urge to explain yourself, pause. Let the silence do its work. Because behind that pause, your brain is rewriting the story. From seeking validation to creating transformation. Chapter 3: The Hidden Strength of Moving Quietly. There's a strange power that comes from moving in silence. Not rushing to announce your goals. Not posting every step of your journey. Just working. At first, it feels uncomfortable. Because we've been conditioned to share. To post, to tell, to prove. But when you stop doing that, something changes inside you. You start working for yourself, not for validation. When no one knows what you're building, you're free. You can experiment, fail, and start again. Without judgment, without pressure, without noise. That freedom is priceless. It's the same freedom artists feel when they paint for passion, not likes. It's the same freedom athletes feel in early morning training. When no one's watching. Only the sound of their breath. And the rhythm of their steps. That's the hidden strength of moving quietly. You remove the weight of expectation. And suddenly, you move faster. You take bigger risks. You learn faster. You fail privately, and rise stronger. Think about it. Every great story begins in silence. Steve Jobs and Wozniak building Apple in a garage. J.K. Rowling writing Harry Potter in cafes, broke and unknown. Elon Musk working silently on projects everyone laughed at. Every success started in a quiet corner. With no spotlight, no audience, just obsession. People only see the success, never the silence behind it. But the silence is where it all happens. It's the foundation no one claps for. The lonely hours that no one posts. When you move quietly, you take control of your narrative. You stop being predictable. People don't know your next move. And that unpredictability becomes your power. In a world obsessed with oversharing, mystery is strength. It keeps others guessing. And it keeps you focused. When you don't talk, you observe. You see more. You understand more. You pick up on details that talkers miss. It's the same reason chess masters sit silently before a move. Not because they're unsure, but because they're calculating. They know that silence isn't weakness. It's strategy. And this strategy works everywhere. In business, in relationships, in personal growth. In business, silence lets your results speak first. Competitors underestimate you, until it's too late. In relationships, silence gives space to truth. You start to see who respects your quiet, and who fears it. In self-growth, silence builds patience. And patience builds greatness. You stop needing constant stimulation. You stop comparing yourself. You learn to find comfort in the stillness. And that's when you start growing faster than ever before. Silence is not about isolation, it's about alignment. You're not cutting the world off. You're tuning yourself in. When you move quietly, you start feeling something new. Momentum. You wake up earlier. You focus deeper. You execute sharper. And while others are still talking about what they'll do, you've already done it. By the time they notice, you've already evolved. That's the hidden strength of silence. You grow in the shadows, so that when you step into the light, you're unstoppable. Remember this. Noise gets attention, but silence gets results. So protect your process. Work like no one's watching. And when it's time, let your success make the noise. Chapter 4: Why not everyone deserves to know your plans. Not everyone deserves access to your dreams. Not everyone has earned the right to know what you're building. Because here's the truth. Some people listen just to judge. Some listen to compare. And some listen to secretly hope you fail, so they can feel better about not trying themselves. It's a harsh reality. But the moment you start protecting your energy, you begin to see who's really for you, and who's just around you. You see, when you share your goals too early, you give people power. Power to influence your mindset, your motivation, your momentum. And sometimes, all it takes is one comment, one laugh, one dismissive look, to plant doubt in your mind. You might not even notice it right away. But later that night, when you're alone, you'll hear that voice. Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm not ready. And slowly, you start shrinking your dreams to fit their level of belief. That's why silence is sacred. It keeps your vision protected. Like a seed that grows underground before it breaks the surface. You don't show a seed to the world and ask for approval. You water it quietly. You nurture it in silence. You protect it from storms. Until one day, it becomes undeniable. When you keep your plans private, you take back control. You decide who gets access to your energy. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't even understand your mission. You start to realize you don't need to be understood. You need to be consistent. Silence helps you stay consistent. Because when no one's watching, you're working for yourself. There's no performance. No pressure. No pretending. Just pure focus. And here's something most people miss. Silence doesn't mean secrecy out of fear. It means privacy out of wisdom. You can still share your wins. But share them when they're real. When they're done. Don't talk about what you plan to do. Talk about what you did. People respect finished work, not promises. And let's be honest. Not everyone you tell will wish you well. Some will project their own fears onto you. They'll say, it's too risky. Not because it's impossible, but because they wouldn't dare to try. Their fear is not your truth. Their limits are not your ceiling. So protect your plans. Move quietly. And remember, you don't owe anyone an explanation for your progress. Let them wonder. Let them guess. Let them see your results when the time is right. The loudest person in the room rarely wins. But the quiet one, the focused one, the consistent one, always does. And when you finally reveal what you've been working on, the silence before will make the sound of success even louder. Chapter 5: The Art of Letting Results Speak for You. There's something magnetic about a person who doesn't talk much, but whose actions speak louder than words ever could. They don't announce their goals. They don't explain what they're doing. They just do it. And one day, everyone wakes up and sees the result. That's the art of letting your work speak for you. You see, most people want recognition before they've earned it. They crave the validation that says, you're on the right track. But that's the trap. Because when you chase validation, you lose focus. You stop doing things for yourself, and start doing them for an audience. And the moment you start performing for people, you stop performing for your potential. Results, on the other hand, don't lie. You can't fake consistency. You can't talk your way into excellence. You either show up every day, or you don't. That's what makes results so powerful. They're undeniable. They silence doubt. They erase excuses. They turn skeptics into spectators. Think about every great achiever in history. They didn't beg people to believe in them. They simply worked, quietly, relentlessly, until their work became impossible to ignore. Michael Jordan didn't tell people he was the best. He showed them, every single night on the court. Warren Buffett doesn't brag about being a genius investor. He just makes smart moves, and lets the numbers tell the story. Even in art, the same truth applies. Leonardo da Vinci didn't explain his process. He painted The Last Supper and Mona Lisa. His silence became his legacy. You see, when your work speaks for you, you no longer need to defend yourself. Your results are your defense. But here's what's important. Results don't come from intensity. They come from consistency. Small, quiet steps, every single day. That's what makes the process so powerful. When you build in silence, you remove distractions. You remove opinions. You remove the noise that kills momentum. You enter what psychologists call the flow state. A deep, immersive zone, where time disappears, focus sharpens, and creativity explodes. In that state, you're not thinking about how it looks. You're thinking about how it feels. And that's when the magic happens. That's when your ideas become breakthroughs. That's when your hard work starts compounding. Quietly, invisibly, but powerfully. People won't see your late nights. They won't see your doubts, your restarts, your failures. But one day, they'll see the result. And they'll call it overnight success. That's the irony. People only notice you once it's obvious. They'll say, "Wow, you're so lucky." Never realizing how many silent nights built that luck. So stop explaining. Stop over-talking. Let your execution do the talking. When you walk into a room with results, You don't need to introduce yourself. Your work introduces you. Your presence commands respect. Not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. And that's the real flex. Moving quietly. Building silently. And letting your results roar. Now, here's the secret few talk about. When you let your results speak, you also attract the right kind of people. Not the curious ones who just want to know, but the aligned ones who want to grow. The ones who recognize your effort. Because they're doing the same thing. Silence filters your circle. It separates talkers from doers. Pretenders from performers. When you let results do the talking, you attract people who value effort, not noise. And that's when your network becomes powerful. Because it's built on respect. Not reputation. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. Just keep showing up. Keep building. Keep refining. Let your work echo louder than your words. Because when you do, your success becomes a statement. Not shouted, but felt. And the best part? The people who once doubted you will be the same ones quoting you. So remember this. Speak less. Do more. And let your results make the noise. Because in the end, words fade. But results, they echo forever. Chapter 6, The Noise of the World versus the Peace of Focus. We live in a world that's louder than ever. Every second, someone is talking. Someone is posting. Someone is shouting to be heard. And in that endless noise, focus has become a rare skill. Almost a superpower. The truth is, silence isn't just peaceful. It's productive. It's where real focus begins. Because when the world is loud, you start reacting. You scroll, compare, comment, argue. And little by little, your attention gets stolen. Your mind becomes cluttered with things that don't move you forward. But when you step into silence, you reclaim your attention. You start hearing your own thoughts again. You stop reacting, and start responding. That's the difference between most people and those who achieve something great. Most people are reacting to noise. Successful people are creating from silence. Look around. Every platform, every app, every headline. They're all fighting for your focus. And if you're not careful, you'll spend your entire life consuming instead of creating. That's why silence is so powerful. It's the reset button your brain desperately needs. When you disconnect from the world for even an hour, you allow your mind to breathe. You give it space to think, to imagine, to plan. Focus doesn't come from effort. It comes from clarity. And clarity lives in silence. When your environment is noisy, your thoughts scatter. But when everything goes quiet, your priorities line up like puzzle pieces. Suddenly you see what matters. You feel what's right. And you stop wasting energy on everything else. There's a reason monks, philosophers, and thinkers throughout history valued solitude. They understood that silence isn't absence, it's presence. In silence, your ideas have room to grow. Your mind becomes sharper. Your emotions settle. And slowly, the chaos outside loses its grip on you. Think of your focus like a flame. When the wind is strong, when the noise is constant, that flame flickers. But when you shield it with silence, it steadies, it strengthens, it grows. In today's world, protecting your focus is protecting your future. Because every distraction is a small delay. And every moment of silence is an investment. The greats know this. Writers wake up before sunrise to write in stillness. Athletes train before dawn, when the world is asleep. Leaders carve out hours for reflection. Not because they have time, but because they make time. They know the secret. You can't lead a noisy mind. When you're quiet, you start to notice patterns. You realize which tasks actually move the needle. You see which relationships fuel your growth, and which drain it. And once you see clearly, you start choosing differently. You stop chasing attention, and start chasing mastery. Because mastery thrives in peace. Distraction kills it. And when you stay silent long enough, you discover something beautiful. Peace isn't the absence of noise. It's the ability to remain calm within it. You can walk through chaos and still be centered. You can hear the noise, but not let it move you. That's real power. So, disconnect often. Turn off the noise. Find a quiet place, even if it's only for a few minutes a day. Sit. Think. Reflect. Because in those quiet minutes, you'll make decisions that shape decades. The world will always be loud. But your peace, that's yours to protect. Chapter 7, How Silence Builds Confidence and Power. Silence doesn't just protect your goals. It builds something even greater. Confidence. Power. Presence. Think about the most confident people you've met. They rarely speak too much. They don't rush to explain themselves. They don't fill every silence with words. Instead, they own the silence. They're comfortable in it. Because deep down, they don't need to prove anything. That's the kind of quiet strength silence gives you. You see, people who talk too much often talk from insecurity. They fill the space because they fear being unseen. But truly confident people don't seek attention. Attention naturally finds them. Why? Because silence makes people curious. When you say less, people start to wonder more. They pay attention to your actions, to your energy, to your consistency. And that's when your presence begins to speak louder than your words ever could. This is how powerful leaders move. They speak with purpose, not impulse. When they enter a room, they don't need to announce who they are. Their energy announces it for them. That's what silence builds. When you learn to hold back your words, you start noticing the world differently. You listen more. You observe details others miss. You see how people react, what motivates them, what they hide. And that awareness becomes power. Because the more you understand people, the more control you have over your environment. Not manipulation, understanding. You respond intelligently instead of emotionally. Silence gives you that pause. The moment between reaction and decision. And that small gap is where confidence grows. You start trusting yourself more. You stop over-explaining. You stop seeking approval. You start realizing you don't need to convince anyone when you're living your truth. Confidence isn't loud. It's quiet. It's calm. It's steady. It's the kind of energy that says, I know who I am. I know what I'm building. And I don't need to prove it to you. Even in conflict, silence is power. Because silence disarms. When others argue, you stay still. When they lose control, you stay centered. And that's when they realize Your calm is stronger than their chaos. In relationships, silence helps you see who respects you. People who truly value you won't panic when you're quiet. They'll understand that your peace isn't distance. It's discipline. But people who feed off your attention will always mistake your silence for weakness, until they realize its strength. In the corporate world, it's the same. The person who talks less in meetings but delivers results always earns more respect than the one who talks endlessly but achieves nothing. Because real power doesn't come from volume. It comes from value. Every word you hold back adds weight to the ones you choose to speak. That's the art of presence. When you speak, people listen. Not because you're loud, but because your silence has built credibility. And here's a secret. The more you practice silence, the more magnetic you become. Because silence gives you depth. It gives you mystery. And in a world where everyone is trying to be seen, being unreadable is your edge. That's why silence and confidence are inseparable. Confidence says, I don't need to prove anything. Silence says, watch me. And that's when true power begins. Because real power doesn't announce itself. It moves quietly. It grows quietly. It builds silently. Until one day, it's undeniable. So let people underestimate you. Let them mistake your silence for uncertainty. Because when the time comes, your work, your presence, and your results will speak in a language louder than words. And that's the moment the world will realize. You were never being quiet. You were just busy becoming powerful. Chapter 8, When to Speak, and When to Stay Silent. Silence is powerful. But like all forms of power, it's about balance. There's a time to stay quiet, and a time to speak up. Wisdom is knowing the difference. Too much silence, and people may never know your truth. Too many words, and you lose the meaning in your message. The key is timing. It's understanding that your words are like currency. The more carefully you spend them, the more valuable they become. There are moments when silence protects your peace, and moments when speaking protects your purpose. When someone tries to twist your story, you don't always need to argue. Sometimes, the truth doesn't need defense. It needs distance. But when silence starts turning into self-suppression, when you're quiet because you fear judgment, or because you doubt your own worth, that's when silence becomes a cage. And you were never meant to live in a cage. You were meant to be calm, not voiceless. You were meant to think deeply, not disappear quietly. There's a difference between protecting your energy and hiding your voice. Silence is powerful only when it's chosen. When it's forced, it becomes weakness. The great ones know this. They don't speak often. But when they do, the room stops moving. Because their words are born from clarity, not chaos. Every word carries purpose. Every sentence carries weight. That's what gives their voice power. So when should you speak? When it serves truth. When it brings light. When it protects your values or defends what's right. Speak when silence would cause misunderstanding. Speak when your experience can help someone else. Speak when staying quiet would mean betraying yourself. But even then, speak with intention. Speak from calm, not anger. From confidence, not ego. Because the loudest voice in the room isn't always the most respected. But the most grounded one always is. And here's the beauty. Silence makes your voice stronger. It gives it contrast. Like thunder after still air. When you speak rarely, people listen fully. When you speak clearly, people remember deeply. It's the same in art, in leadership, in life. The painter knows when to leave the canvas blank. The musician knows when to let the note fade. The speaker knows when to pause. Because silence, used wisely, isn't absence. It's emphasis. So don't silence yourself out of fear. Use silence as a tool, not a prison. Let it sharpen your words, not erase them. And when you finally decide to speak, make sure your words are worth breaking the silence for. Because when you've lived, worked, and grown quietly, your voice will carry truth. Your message will carry power. And your presence will carry peace. That's the art. That's balance. That's wisdom. Chapter 9, The Discipline of Solitude, Turning Alone Time into Power. Most people run from being alone. They fill every quiet moment with noise. Music, messages, scrolling, conversations. Anything to avoid being alone with their own thoughts. But solitude is not loneliness. It's one of the most powerful tools you'll ever have. Because in solitude, you stop hearing the world and start hearing yourself. Every great transformation starts in silence. And often, in solitude. It's where you begin to separate who you really are from who the world told you to be. It's in the quiet moments. Late at night. Early in the morning. When the noise fades. That you start to see yourself clearly. You start to feel your purpose again. You remember your why. You reconnect with the version of you that's been buried under noise, opinions, and expectations. But solitude requires discipline. Because at first, it's uncomfortable. It feels empty. You'll want to escape it. You'll want to reach for your phone. Turn on music. Call someone. Just to feel less alone. But that moment, right there, is where growth begins. When you can sit in silence and not crave distraction, you've taken your first step toward mastery. Because most people can't handle solitude. They fear what their thoughts might say. But if you want peace, focus, clarity, you have to face yourself first. Solitude forces you to confront your habits, your excuses, your patterns. It shows you what you've been avoiding. And when you face it, you begin to heal. You start asking real questions. What do I really want? Am I living for myself? Or for approval? What am I holding on to that's slowing me down? Those questions don't come from conversation. They come from stillness. That's why some of the greatest minds worked in isolation. Nikola Tesla, who imagined inventions decades ahead of his time. He spent hours alone, thinking in silence. Einstein, who reshaped our understanding of the universe, often took long, quiet walks by himself. And writers, artists, creators, they all understand this truth. Creativity blooms in solitude. Because when you're alone, you stop performing. You stop editing yourself for the world. You start thinking freely. Solitude becomes your sanctuary. The place where ideas are born. Where plans are shaped. where self-respect grows. In solitude, you learn to be your own company. You stop seeking validation. You stop depending on others for peace. You start realizing your energy is precious. Your time is sacred. Your focus is everything. That's where real confidence comes from. Not from being seen, but from being centered. You begin to value your quiet mornings, your deep work sessions, your walks with no music. You start craving peace more than attention. And that's when you become unstoppable. Because when you master solitude, you can never be manipulated by loneliness again. You're not waiting for company to feel complete. You're not chasing people to feel seen. You are whole, focused, driven from within. So take time to be alone. Not because you're isolating yourself, but because you're building yourself. Silence plus solitude equals strength. That's the formula few ever master. But those who do create, lead, and live differently. Because solitude is not the absence of love. It's the presence of power. It's where you stop being distracted and start being dangerous. Chapter 10: Silence and Energy, Protecting Your Mental Space. Your energy is your currency. Every thought, every word, every conversation. It costs you something. But most people spend it carelessly. They let anyone take their focus, waste their time, drain their peace. And then they wonder why they feel tired, even when they haven't done much. Here's the truth. It's not always your workload that exhausts you. It's the noise, the endless talking, the opinions, the arguments that go nowhere. Every time you engage with negativity, you pay with your energy. Every time you explain yourself to people who've already made up their mind, you lose focus. Every time you try to prove your worth to someone who refuses to see it, you drain your power. Silence isn't just about not speaking. It's about protecting your mental space. Because energy flows where attention goes. And when your attention is scattered, so is your peace. The people who understand this, they move differently. They don't argue to be right. They don't react to every comment. They don't explain every move. They conserve energy. They speak with intention. They act with clarity. That's why they seem calm, focused, unbothered. It's not arrogance. It's awareness. They know silence protects their energy in a way that words never could. When you stay silent, you create mystery. You create presence. You hold power. Because the more you speak, the more people think they know you. The more they know, the easier it becomes to predict, to judge, to manipulate. But when you stay quiet, you stay unpredictable. And unpredictability is strength. Your silence also filters people. It shows you who's comfortable with peace and who needs chaos to feel alive. When you stop oversharing, you'll notice how some people drift away. They were only there for the gossip, the noise, the updates. But the ones who stay, they value your energy, not your attention. So don't be afraid to step back. Don't feel guilty for being private. Your silence doesn't mean you don't care. It means you're prioritizing peace. And here's something powerful. Your energy introduces you. Before you even speak, When you walk into a room, calm, composed, focused, people feel it. They sense the quiet strength. Because real power doesn't need to announce itself. It's felt. Protect your mind the way you protect your phone battery. You wouldn't let every app run in the background, draining your charge. So why let every opinion, every argument, run in the background of your mind? Close the tabs. Silence the noise. Protect your mental bandwidth. Because your focus is fuel. And silence keeps the tank full. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how refreshed you feel after spending time away from noise? After a long walk alone? After turning off your notifications for a few hours? That's not coincidence. That's recovery. Your mind is like a muscle. It needs silence to rebuild strength. So make silence part of your routine. Moments with no phone. No music. No small talk. Just space. At first, it feels strange. Like something's missing. But then, it becomes peaceful. Then powerful. Then necessary. You start realizing you don't need to respond to everything. You don't need to explain your piece. You don't need to prove your worth. The less you react, the more you control. And control is the foundation of power. Silence isn't emptiness. It's emotional discipline. It's mental protection. It's spiritual focus. So the next time you feel drained, don't look for a vacation. Look for silence. Because silence restores energy. And energy restores everything else. Chapter 11, When to Speak, the Art of Timing Your Words. There's a difference between having something to say and needing to say it. Most people speak to fill silence. But the wise, they speak to create meaning. Because silence holds power. But knowing when to break that silence, that's mastery. Words are like arrows. Once released, they can't be taken back. That's why you aim before you speak. Think about it. How many times have you said something out of anger and regretted it later? Or revealed a plan too soon and watched it lose its magic? Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing. Not because you're afraid, but because you understand timing. Silence gives your words weight. It turns every sentence into something intentional. Something people listen to. Because when you speak rarely, your words hit deeper. People lean in. They pay attention. But when you speak constantly, you lose that gravity. Your voice becomes background noise. That's why leaders, thinkers, and visionaries don't talk all the time. They observe. They listen. They calculate. Then, when the moment comes, they speak with precision. And that precision changes everything. Let's take an example. Steve Jobs. He was known for his silence. He'd often let others talk first. Analyzing, listening, observing. Then, when he finally spoke, his words cut through the room. Because they weren't random. They were ready. That's the art of timing. It's not just about what you say. It's about when you say it. You can tell the truth at the wrong time. And it'll sound like an attack. You can share your dream too early. And it'll sound unrealistic. You can offer advice too soon. And it'll sound like judgment. Timing turns honesty into wisdom. That's why silence is your friend. It gives you space to measure the moment, to read the room, to sense the emotion behind words. When you pause, you let understanding catch up with emotion. Try this simple habit. Before you speak, breathe. Just one slow breath. That's all it takes. That pause gives you clarity. And clarity gives your word strength. When you master that, you stop reacting and start responding. Reactions come from emotion. Responses come from awareness. One creates chaos. The other creates respect. And respect is what silence builds. Because when people see that you don't talk unnecessarily, they start valuing your presence. They start waiting for your opinion. Your silence becomes authority. It's the same reason a teacher pauses before giving the answer. The silence draws focus. It makes people want to hear what comes next. That's communication with purpose. So the next time you're tempted to respond quickly, ask yourself, is this the right time? Or just the right feeling? Because once the moment passes, your words lose their magic. Let silence do the filtering. Let patience do the talking. And when you finally speak, let it count. Because in a world full of noise, a single well-timed sentence can echo louder than 1,000 meaningless words. So speak less. But when you do, speak truth. Speak calm. Speak with intention. That's how you turn silence into influence. Chapter 12, The Hidden Language of Quiet Confidence. Confidence isn't always loud. It doesn't always announce itself. Often, it whispers. And the most powerful kind of confidence is the one people feel before they hear a word from you. You've seen it before. That person in the room who doesn't brag, doesn't demand attention, and yet, everything seems to revolve around them. That's quiet confidence. And it speaks louder than words ever could. It's in the way they carry themselves. Straight posture. Calm movements. Measured gestures. Even the way they pause before responding. It's in the absence of over-explaining. Because they know what they've built, what they've achieved, doesn't need validation from anyone else. And here's the key. Silence builds this confidence. When you stop talking to prove yourself, you stop needing others to approve you. You begin to trust your own judgment. You begin to honor your own effort. You begin to own your presence. People pick up on that. They sense the energy of someone who doesn't need to shout to be noticed. They feel the weight of experience. The calm of preparation. The assurance of purpose. That's why some of the most respected leaders, thinkers, and creators don't seek the spotlight. They let their presence speak first. Their words arrive later. And when they do, they land with authority. Silence also gives you control over perception. When you talk constantly, people predict your thoughts. When you remain quiet, people wonder about them. They attribute depth to your calm. They assume competence. They respect restraint. It's the hidden language of quiet confidence. Less talking, more acting. Less proving, more demonstrating. Less noise, more gravity. And here's something fascinating. Confidence is contagious. When you're calm and centered, others around you start to mirror it. Your silence sets the tone. Your focus directs energy. Your calmness inspires trust. Think about the people you admire most. They weren't loud. They didn't need to fill every silence. Their influence came from how they moved through the world, not from how loudly they announced themselves. That's the magic of quiet confidence. It's not arrogant. It's not passive. It's intentional. Silence allows you to see, listen, and act with precision. It also protects your energy, because the less you feel the need to explain yourself, the more energy you have to build, create, and focus. And here's the final truth. People respect confidence far more than words. They trust action over promise. They feel power before it's spoken. So the next time you feel the urge to fill a room with words, pause. Check your intention. Ask yourself, am I speaking to show off, or to make impact? Let your movements, your focus, and your calm speak first. Let your silence be the foundation. Because when you combine silence with action, you don't just build respect. You build authority. You build presence. You build a life that speaks for itself. And that is quiet power. Chapter 13, The Long-Term Payoff of Silent Mastery. Silence isn't just a strategy. It's a lifestyle. And like any skill, its true power becomes visible over time. Most people chase quick results. They want instant validation. They want applause before the work is even done. But the quiet ones, the ones who build in silence, they understand a deeper truth. Everything of value takes time. Everything worth achieving takes patience. And everything that lasts starts quietly, grows steadily, and reveals itself in its own perfect timing. When you master silence, you're playing the long game. You're not distracted by who's watching. You're not derailed by judgment. You're not swayed by the need to explain. You focus on what matters. You act every day, consistently. You refine, adapt, and grow, quietly, deliberately. And here's the amazing thing about silent mastery. By the time people notice, you've already transformed. Your skills have sharpened. Your understanding has deepened. Your character has strengthened. The results appear sudden to outsiders, but they are decades in the making. They are the product of countless quiet mornings, focused hours, undisturbed thinking, and relentless effort. Look at the greatest creators, entrepreneurs, and thinkers in history. Elon Musk quietly conceptualized ideas for years before launching ventures that changed entire industries. J.K. Rowling spent years writing in silence, facing rejection, before publishing a story that captured millions of hearts worldwide. Steve Jobs and his team worked tirelessly in private, building Apple products that reshaped technology. No one saw the long nights. No one saw the struggles. All they saw was the result. And that's the beauty of silent mastery. You build a life that speaks for itself. By working in quiet, you protect your creativity, your focus, and your energy. You filter out distractions, drama, and doubt. You grow in a way that is unstoppable. Because it's internal, rooted in discipline, and fueled by your own drive, not applause. The payoff is deeper than success. It's confidence that doesn't need to be proven. It's clarity that doesn't seek approval. It's peace that no one can take away. And here's the most powerful part. Your example inspires others silently. People notice your results, your calm, your focus. They are drawn to it. They want to learn from it. You've become a quiet leader. Not through words, but through mastery. This is the ultimate lesson of silence. It's not just about being quiet. It's about being strategic. It's not about avoiding the world. It's about moving through it intentionally. It's not about hiding your talents. It's about letting them shine at the right time. So, every time you feel the urge to overshare, to explain, to justify, remember the long-term payoff. Remember that silence is a seed. Water it with focus. Protect it with patience. Let it grow. And one day, your results will speak so loudly that the world has no choice but to listen. Because mastery built in silence isn't just success. It's legacy. Chapter 14, Closing, Embrace the Power of Silence. You've listened. You've explored the quiet corners of focus, confidence, and discipline. Now it's time to take it with you. Silence is more than the absence of noise. It's protection. It's strategy. It's power. It allows you to work without distraction. It allows you to grow without judgment. It allows you to create without limits. But here's the truth. Silence alone isn't enough. It's the combination of silence plus action that transforms your life. Because when you move quietly, plan wisely, and act consistently, you're unstoppable. Your results will speak louder than your words. Your presence will inspire without explanation. Your energy will become magnetic. And your life will reflect the dedication, discipline, and focus that most people never understand. Remember, work in silence. Protect your ideas. Use solitude to grow your mind, body, and spirit. Speak only when it amplifies your impact. Let results, not words, define your success. Guard your energy. Focus on what matters. Every quiet hour you spend building yourself is an investment in your future. Every decision to move deliberately, not reactively, strengthens your foundation. Every moment you choose clarity over noise brings you closer to mastery. The world is loud. People are quick to judge, to distract, to doubt. But you have the power to rise above. Use silence as your shield. Use focus as your weapon. Use patience as your path. And one day, all that quiet work will bloom. Your results will speak. Your actions will inspire. And your life will leave a legacy that words could never capture. So start today. Protect your energy. Work quietly. Grow relentlessly. Because the power of silence is not just about being quiet. It's about being unstoppable.